Welcome to Meditations, Book 10, presented by Rust Books. In this book, Marcus Aurelius continues his reflections on the nature of the universe, the mind, and the true path to wisdom. Here, he delves deeper into the art of self-mastery and the acceptance of life's impermanence. With clarity and humility, he teaches us to live according to our true nature, to align with reason, and to find peace even in the face of life's trials. Join us in this journey of introspection and self-discipline as we explore the timeless wisdom of one of history's greatest philosophers. Verse 1. O my soul, the time will come, I trust, when you will be good, simple, single, more open and visible than the body that now encloses you. You will one day feel the happiness of those whose end is love, whose affections are dead to all worldly things. You will one day be full, wanting for nothing external, not seeking pleasure from anything, whether living or lifeless, that this world can offer. You will not long for more time, or the right place, or the favor of the weather or of men. When you find contentment in your present state, and all things around you add to that contentment, you will persuade yourself that you have everything. Everything for your good, and all of it by the providence of the gods. And when you look to the future, you will be just as confident that all will go well for the perfect welfare and happiness of the soul. You will know that all things are in the hands of the one who is the perfection of life, of goodness and beauty, the one who begets and contains all things, and who recalls all things to himself, to create again from them others like them. Such will be your disposition that you will be able, in relation to the gods and to men, to align your actions so that you never complain of them, nor do anything for which you may justly be condemned. Verse 2. As one who is wholly governed by nature, let it be your care to observe what your nature in general requires. Once you know this, if you find that following it as a living, sensible creature will not harm you, then proceed. Next, examine what your nature as a living, sensible creature requires. And whatever that may be, you may accept it and act upon it so long as it does not harm you as a reasonable living creature. For whatever is reasonable is also sociable. Keep yourself to these principles and do not trouble yourself with idle things. Verse 3. Whatever happens to you, you are, by your nature, either able or not able to bear it. If you are able, do not be offended. Bear it according to your natural constitution, as nature has enabled you. But if you are not able, do not be offended. For it will soon come to an end, both the difficulty and your own life, whenever that time comes. But remember this: whatever you can bear based on your true understanding of both profit and duty, that you can endure according to your nature. Verse 4. To him who offends, teach with love and meekness, and show him his error. But if you cannot do so, then blame not yourself. Rather, do not blame yourself at all, if your will and efforts have not been lacking. Verse 5. Whatever happens to you, it is that which has been appointed to you from all time. For by the same chain of causes by which your substance was appointed to be, was also everything that should happen to it, destined and predetermined. Verse 6. Either, with Epicurus, we must imagine the atoms to be the cause of all things, or we must accept the existence of nature. Let this be your first foundation, that you are part of a universe governed by nature. Then secondly, that to those parts of the universe which are of the same kind and nature as you, you share a kinship. For if I always remember this, that I am a part, I will never be displeased with anything that comes to my share of the world's common chances. For nothing that is necessary for the whole can be truly harmful to the part. This is the common privilege of all nature, that it contains nothing within itself that is harmful to itself. It cannot be that the nature of the universe, whose privilege is that it cannot be constrained by any external force, should create anything that harms its own self. As I remember that I am part of such a universe, I will not be displeased with anything that happens. And as I have a kinship with those parts of the universe that share the same nature, I will be careful not to harm the community. In all my deliberations, those of my kind must be my focus. The common good will be my aim, and anything contrary to it, I will strive to avoid and prevent. Once these principles are fixed and concluded, just as you would think a happy citizen is one whose constant study and practice are for the good of his fellow citizens, and whose city's actions are in harmony with him, so too you will find that you can live a happy life. Verse 7. All parts of the world, all things within the whole world, must at some time or another come to corruption. Alteration, I should say, to speak more accurately. But for the sake of understanding, I will use the more common word, corruption. Now, if this alteration is harmful to them, yet unavoidable, do you not think that the whole itself would be in a sorry state, with all its parts subject to change, and by their very nature fitted for corruption, as they consist of differing and opposing elements? Did nature then, by design, intend the suffering and misery of her parts? Did she make them in such a way not only that they might fall into evil, but that they should, by necessity, do so? To say either of these is equally absurd. But setting aside the general nature of things and considering the particulars according to their nature, how absurd is it to say that all parts of the whole are, by their nature, subject to alteration, and then, when such things happen, like sickness or death, to be surprised as though something strange has occurred, though, perhaps, it may lessen your grief to consider that whatever dissolves is returned to the very elements from which it was formed. For every dissolution is either a mere dispersion, the elements returning to their origins, or a transformation, the solid returning to earth, the spiritual or subtle to air. Thus, nothing is lost. All is resumed into the rational generative seeds of the universe. This universe, either after a certain period of time, will be consumed by fire, or will be continually renewed by change, to endure forever. Now, this solid and spiritual substance, you must not think of it as exactly the same as what existed when you were born. For all that you are now, whether in body or in life, has only received its influx in the past few days, from the food you have eaten and the air you have breathed. It is no more the same as when you were born, than a running river, maintained by the constant influx and supply of new water, is the same. Therefore, that which you have received, not from your mother, but from the world around you, is what changes and corrodes. But even if the solid, more substantial part of it remains with you, what does it matter if the true qualities and affections of it, those qualities that distinguish one person from another, are entirely different? Verse 8. Now that you have taken upon yourself the names of good, modest, and true, of emphron, symphron, epemphron, be mindful, lest by any action contrary to these you lose the right to be called so. If you do, return to them quickly with all possible speed. Remember, the word emphron signifies a mindful, intelligent consideration of every object that presents itself to you, without distraction. The word symphron refers to a ready and contented acceptance of whatever happens by the appointment of the common nature. The word hyperphron describes a mind that reaches beyond all bodily pains and pleasures, honor and reputation, death, and all things of the same nature. It treats them all as matters of indifference, things that a wise man need not concern himself with. If you observe these virtues inviolably and do not seek to be called by others by these names, you will become a new person and begin a new life. To continue as you have been, to endure the distractions and troubles of your former life, is the path of foolishness, a person too fond of life. Such a person is like a wounded soul in the amphitheater, desiring only to survive until the next day, to be subjected to the same pain again. Therefore, set sail from the troubles of your former life, and embrace these few virtuous names. If you can remain steadfast in them, you will find yourself in a place of joy, like one who has been transported to the islands of the blessed, or the Elysian fields as described by Hesiod and Plato. Whenever you find yourself in danger of relapse and unable to master the temptations of your current station, find a quiet place where you can gather yourself. If that is not enough, be ready to depart your life, not in passion, but in a quiet, voluntary manner. This act, and this alone, may be the most commendable action of your life, the culmination of all your work, to leave when you must in peace. For the better remembrance of these names, it will help greatly to remember the gods often. For what they require of us, as many of us as are reasonable by nature, is not flattery or outward show of devotion, but that we should become like them. Just as all other creatures, like the fig tree, the dog, the bee, act according to their nature, so too should man act according to his nature, as a man.
Verse 9. Toys and distractions at home, wars abroad, sometimes terror, sometimes sloth, or a dull, lifeless stupor. This is your daily slavery. Little by little, if you do not pay attention, those sacred principles will be blotted out from your mind. How many things, which as a mere naturalist you have observed, according to their nature, do you simply let pass without further use? You should join action and contemplation in all things, so that you may attend to present duties with care, while also engaging in contemplation. In this way, you can experience the delight and pleasure that true contemplative knowledge of everything, according to its true nature, gives, without losing any part of it. For true contemplative knowledge, when action is subject to many obstacles, can still provide you with enough pleasure and happiness, not in an obvious way, but also not concealed. When will you attain the happiness of true simplicity and unaffected gravity? When will you rejoice in the certain knowledge of every object, according to its true nature, knowing its substance and matter, its purpose in the world, how long it can exist, what it consists of, who can use it, and who can give it or take it away? Verse 10. As the spider, when it has caught the fly it hunted, is not proud nor conceited of itself, as the hunter who catches a hare, or a fisherman with his net, as another who takes down a boar, or another a bear, so too may they be proud and celebrate their acts of valor against the Sarmatai, or the northern tribes recently defeated. For these too, these famous soldiers and warlike men, if you look closely at their minds and opinions, what do but hunt after prey? Verse 11. Find for yourself a clear and certain method of contemplation, by which you can clearly discern and represent to yourself the mutual change of all things, how one thing becomes another. Keep this in your mind always, and make sure you are thoroughly practiced in this discipline, for there is nothing more effective in cultivating true magnanimity.
Verse 12.
He has broken free from the bonds of his body, and knowing that in a very short time he must bid farewell to the world and leave all things behind, he applies himself wholly to righteousness in all his actions, and to the common nature in everything that comes his way. Content with these two things, to act justly in all things, and to accept with good will whatever God sends. What others say or think of him, or what they may do against him, he does not let trouble his mind. His only concern is to go straight ahead where right and reason direct him. By following this path, he follows God. This was the only thing that occupied his mind, his only business and occupation. Verse 13. What use is there in suspicion at all? Why should thoughts of mistrust and concern about the future trouble your mind? What is there to be done if you can search and inquire into what is to come? What need is there for more? And if you are able to perceive it clearly on your own, let no one divert you from it. But if you do not perceive it clearly on your own, suspend your action and seek advice from the best. If there is anything else hindering you, move forward with prudence and discretion according to the present occasion and opportunity. Always pursue what you consider most right and just. For to do what is right and to succeed in its pursuit must surely be happiness, since it is the only thing we can truly miss or fail at. Verse 14. What is it that is slow and yet quick, merry and yet grave? He who in all things follows reason as his guide. Verse 15. In the morning, as soon as you awaken, before your judgments are influenced by your affections or external objects, while your mind is still free and impartial, ask yourself this: is it material whether the right and just action is done by yourself or by others when you are unable? For surely it is not. And those who live such lives, standing upon the praises or criticisms of others, have you forgotten what kind of people they are? What do they do in their beds, at their tables? What are their ordinary actions? What do they pursue and what do they flee from? What thefts and wrongdoings do they commit, not with their hands and feet, but with the more precious part of them, their minds? For their minds, if they would but allow it, might embrace faith, modesty, truth, justice, and a good spirit. Verse 16. Give what thou wilt, and take away what thou wilt, says he who is well taught and truly modest, to him who gives and takes away. And it is not out of a stubborn or forceful resolution that he says this, but with pure love and humble submission. Verse 17. Live as indifferent to the world and all worldly things, as one who lives alone on a desert hill. For, whether here or there, if the whole world is but one town, it matters little where you are. Let them behold and see a man, a true man, living according to the true nature of man. If they cannot bear with me, let them kill me, for it is better to die than to live as they would have you. Verse 18. Do not let it remain a matter of dispute or discourse what the signs and qualities of a good man are, but truly and actually be such. Verse 19. Always remind yourself and set before you both the general age and time of the world and the whole substance of it. Consider how all things in particular, in relation to these, are but as the smallest seeds, and for their duration, like the turning of the pestle in the mortar, just once around. Then fix your mind on every particular object of the world, and see it as it truly is, already in the state of dissolution and change, tending towards some form of decay or dispersion, or whatever it may be, that marks the death of everything in its own nature. Verse 20. Consider them in all the actions and occupations of their lives, when they eat and when they sleep, when they relieve themselves and when they indulge in lust. Again, consider them when they are in their greatest exaltation, in the midst of all their pomp and glory, or when they are angry and displeased, in a state of majesty, chiding and rebuking from a high place. How base and servile, not long ago, they were willing to be, just to reach such a state. And in a very short time, what will become of them when death has taken hold? Verse 21, what is best for everyone is what the common nature of all sends to each one, and it is best when it is sent by her. Verse 22, the earth, says the poet, often longs for the rain. So too does the glorious sky often yearn to fall upon the earth, which speaks of a mutual kind of love between them. And so, I say, the world bears a certain affection of love for whatever is destined to come to pass. Let my affections align with yours, O world. The same, and no other, shall be the object of my longing as is yours. And indeed, it is true that the world loves. And as commonly said and acknowledged, when, as the Greeks phrase it, echoed by the Latins, of things that were once, we say they love to be. Verse 23, either you continue in this life, the life to which you have long been accustomed, and which therefore is tolerable to you, or you withdraw, leave the world, of your own accord, and then you have your mind. Or if your life is cut off, rejoice, for you have completed your charge. One of these must come to pass. Be therefore of good comfort. Verse 24, let it always be apparent to you, and manifest, that solitude and desert places, so highly esteemed and sought after by many philosophers, are, in themselves, only what they are. All things are the same to those who live in towns and converse with others, as they are to those who have retreated to the tops of mountains, or to desert havens, or any other isolated places. For anywhere you will find and can apply to yourself what Plato says of his philosopher, as private and retired, as if shut up and enclosed in some shepherd's lodge on top of a hill. There, by yourself, you must ask yourself these questions and enter into these considerations. What is my chief and principal part, which has power over the rest? What is its current state as I use it? And what am I employing it for? Is it now void of reason or not? Is it free and separate? Or has it become so affixed and intertwined with the flesh that it is swayed by its motions and inclinations? Verse 25, he who runs away from his master is a fugitive, but the law is every man's master. Therefore, he who forsakes the law is a fugitive. So is he, whomever he may be, that is sorry, angry, or afraid for anything that has been, is, or will be, by the appointment of the Lord and Governor of the universe. For he truly and properly is nomos, the law. Verse 26, from man comes the seed, which once cast into the womb, man has no more to do with it. Another cause succeeds and takes over the work, and in time brings a child, a wonderful effect from such a beginning to perfection. Verse 27, always keep in mind and consider with yourself how all things that are now have been before, much in the same way and in the same fashion as they are now, and think of those things that will come after in the same light. Moreover, consider whole dramas and uniform scenes, or those that encompass the lives and actions of men from one calling or profession, as many as you have known in your own experience, or have learned about through reading ancient histories. For example, the whole court of Hadrian, the court of Antoninus Pius, the court of Philip, that of Alexander, and that of Croesus. Set them all before your eyes. You will find that they are all of the same kind and fashion, only the actors were different. Verse 28, as a pig that cries and flails when its throat is cut, imagine everyone who grieves for any worldly thing and takes on.
Such a one is like him who, alone in his bed, bewails the miseries of our mortal life. Remember this: it is only to reasonable creatures that it is granted to willingly and freely submit to providence. But absolute submission, that is a necessity imposed upon all creatures equally. Verse 29. Whatever it is that you are about to do, consider it by yourself, and ask yourself this question: what? Because I shall do this no more when I am dead, should death seem grievous to me? Verse 30. When you are offended by someone's transgression, immediately reflect upon yourself and consider what you yourself are guilty of in the same way. For perhaps you too think it a happiness either to be rich, or to live in pleasure, or to be praised and commended, and so on with other desires. If you call this to mind, you will soon forget your anger, especially when, at the same time, you also remember that he was constrained by his error and ignorance to do what he did. For how can he choose otherwise as long as he holds that opinion? Therefore, if you can, take away from him the error that forces him to act as he does. Verse 31. When you see Satiro, think of Socraticus and Eutychicus, or Hymen. And when you see Euphrates, think of Eutychio and Silvanus. When you see Alciphron, think of Tropiophorus. When you see Xenophon, think of Crito or Severus. And when you look upon yourself, imagine someone of the Caesars. And for every person, consider someone from the past whose estate and profession were similar to theirs. Then let this come to mind: where are they now? Nowhere or somewhere? In this way, you will see how all worldly things are like smoke, vanishing away, or indeed nothing at all. Especially when you remember this, that whatever is once changed will never be the same again, for as long as the world endures. And you, how long will you endure? Why is it not enough for you if virtuously and fittingly you may pass that portion of time allotted to you, no matter how small it may be? Verse 32. What a subject and what a course of life is it that you so desire to be rid of? For all these things, what are they, but fitting objects for an understanding that sees everything according to its true nature, to exercise itself upon? Be patient, therefore, until you, like a strong stomach that turns all things into its own nature, or like a great fire that transforms into flame and light whatever is cast into it, have made these things familiar and as if they were natural to you. Verse 33. Let it never be within anyone's power to say truly of you, that you are not truly simple, or sincere and open, or not good. Let anyone who holds such an opinion of you be deceived. For all this depends on you. Who is there to hinder you from being truly simple or good? Do not resolve to live in any way except as such. For indeed, it does not align with reason that one should live who is not such. What then, at this present moment, is the best action or speech, according to reason and discretion? Whatever it may be, it is within your power to do it or to say it. Therefore, seek no excuses as though you were hindered. You will never cease groaning and complaining until you find pleasure in doing, in every situation, whatever is in harmony with the proper constitution of man, man as he truly is. For you must consider that pleasure, whatever it may be, which you can do according to your own nature. And for this, every place will suit you. Just as the cylindrus or roller cannot move everywhere according to its own motion, nor the water, nor the fire, nor any other natural or sensitive thing, so too many things can hinder their operations. But the mind and understanding have this special privilege, that according to its own nature and as it wills, it can overcome every obstacle and move straight forward.
Set before your eyes this happiness of your mind, how it is able to pass through all things, and is capable of every motion, whether as fire moving upwards, or as a stone moving downwards, or as the cylindrus rolling along a sloping surface. Content yourself with this, and seek nothing else. For all other hindrances which are not of the mind, either belong to the body, or arise merely from opinion, when reason fails to resist and cowardly submits to being defeated. These cannot truly harm or hurt you, for no such external hindrance can make you worse than you were before. In fact, if you make good use of them, you will become better and more praiseworthy for facing such hindrances. Remember always, nothing can harm a true citizen of the universe unless it harms the city itself, and nothing can harm the city unless it harms the law that governs it. These external obstacles do not harm the law or disrupt the course of justice and equity by which societies are upheld. Therefore, they do not harm the city or the citizen.
Verse 34. As one who is bitten by a mad dog is afraid of almost everything he sees, so too, to him who has been bitten by the dogma, or in whom true knowledge has made an impression, everything he sees or reads, no matter how short or ordinary, offers a good memento. It reminds him to be free of grief and fear, like the poet's words. The winds blow upon the trees, and their leaves fall to the ground. Then the trees begin to bud again, and by springtime, new branches appear. So it is with the generation of men. Some come into the world, and others go out of it. Verse 35. A good eye must be good to see whatever is to be seen, and not just green things, for that is the trait of sore eyes. So too must a good ear and a good sense of smell be ready for whatever is to be heard or smelled. And a good stomach must be indifferent to all kinds of food, just as a millstone is indifferent to whatever it was made to grind. In the same way, a sound understanding must be ready for whatever shall happen. But he who says, "Oh, that my children might live," and "Oh, that all men might commend me for whatever I do," has an eye that seeks only after green things, or, like teeth, after what is tender. Verse 35. A good eye must be good to see whatever is to be seen, and not just green things, for that is the trait of sore eyes. So too must a good ear and a good sense of smell be ready for whatever is to be heard or smelled. And a good stomach must be indifferent to all kinds of food, just as a millstone is indifferent to whatever it was made to grind. In the same way, a sound understanding must be ready for whatever shall happen. But he who says, "Oh, that my children might live," and "Oh, that all men might commend me for whatever I do," has an eye that seeks only after green things, or, like teeth, after what is tender.
Verse 36. There is no man so happy in his death that some of those by him when he dies will not be ready to rejoice at his supposed calamity. If he were virtuous and wise, will there not be someone who says to himself, "At last I shall be at rest from this pedagogue. He did not trouble us much, but I know well enough that in his heart he did much condemn us." Thus they will speak of the virtuous. But as for us, alas, how many things are there for which many would be glad to be rid of us? Therefore, when you think of death, think thus: I am now to depart from this world, where those who have been my nearest friends and acquaintances, those whom I have suffered for, prayed for, and taken such care of, even they would have me die, hoping that after my death they will live happier than they did before. What then should any man desire to continue here any longer? Nevertheless, whenever you die, do not be less kind and loving toward them. As before, see them, continue to be their friend, wish them well, and meekly and gently carry yourself toward them. Yet let it not make you more unwilling to die. Just as it fares with those who die an easy, quick death, whose soul is soon separated from their bodies, so must your separation from them be. To these nature had joined and annexed me. Now she parts us. I am ready to depart, as from friends and kinsmen, but without reluctance or compulsion. For this too is according to nature. Verse 37. Whenever you see any man do anything, immediately, if possible, ask yourself, what is this man's purpose in this action? But begin this practice with yourself first of all, and diligently examine yourself concerning whatever you do. Verse 38. Remember that what sets a man to work and has power over his affections, drawing them either one way or the other, is not something external, but what is hidden within every man's dogmas and opinions. That is rhetoric. That is life. That, to speak truly, is man himself. As for your body, which, like a vessel or case, encompasses you, and the many curious instruments attached to it, do not let them trouble your thoughts. For of themselves they are like a carpenter's axe, only because they are born with us and naturally stick to us. Without the inward cause that moves and restrains them, those parts are of no more use to us than the shuttle is to the weaver, or the pen to the writer, or the whip to the coachman.